Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Doug.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And this is Good Suffering. Now, on this show each week, we review a film that I've seen,
But I haven't.
But before we get to that, we like to start with some horror news.
Horror news.
First off, finally, after years of fans asking for it, Candyman is coming to Blu-ray.
Hey, 4K restoration.
Yes, this was announced by Candyman himself, Tony Todd, and it's actually pretty crazy that it's not on Blu-ray yet, considering that we've now hit that period where really obscure movies are getting these special edition huge releases. But Candyman, which was so big and such an important '90s horror film, probably the best '90s horror film, hasn't had a Blu-ray yet, and rights issues tangle up a lot of great movies.
Oh, is that what it was? Was it the rights?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because there's Blu-rays in other countries of it too, but there's just no American or any kind of region A release.
So that's definitely going to be an episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. It's going to be an episode once it comes out. I love that movie. Spoiler alert.
Oh, really?
Jordan Peele, director of Get Out, has announced his second film, which is going to be called Us, and is going to feature Lupita Nyong'o.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's some pretty cool news.
I'm pretty sure that Blumhouse is still attached to it. It's going to be definitely exciting, and we're going to definitely do something on that once it comes out.
Yeah.
Maybe not as an episode of this, but definitely as some kind of adjacent content.
And check out the poster too.
Yeah, the poster is pretty great.
Yeah.
I love when a movie hits with a poster before they've even started filming it.
Yeah.
They're just here's a concept. Here's what we hope it's going to be.
You know the tone.
Yeah.
At least we think.
Sadly, Fox canceled a few shows, and one of those shows was The Exorcist. Sadly, after its second season, and it had a lot of great fan response, as did a few of the other shows that got canceled, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But
hey, that got picked up by NBC.
Yeah, absolutely. So the same could be said for The Exorcist, that could happen. But
How
I don't
long
know.
was that on?
2 seasons.
I don't know. Brooklyn Nine-Nine had
five, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad. And finally, Guillermo del Toro and Netflix have teamed up to do a new show, episodic horror show called 10 After Midnight.
Yes.
That's going to be pretty cool. I think I like Guillermo del Toro a lot, as does, I guess, the Academy now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see more from him. I really liked he worked on the show The Strain. They were based off his books too, and I really enjoyed that show a lot. So I'm excited to see what he can cook up with Netflix, and I love anthology series. So
yeah, I'm still undecided on how I feel about him because I just haven't seen really much.
Ooh, have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
No.
We're doing that for the show,
and you lent me that.
So today we're talking about Clive Barker's 1987 film Hellraiser. It's a landmark of horror. It spawned one of the biggest horror icons, and it's ultimately the goriest family drama ever made.
You clearly weren't at my last birthday party, am I right? Yeah, I didn't invite you. Yeah, you weren't there. But yeah.
So give us a synopsis.
All right. Once again, I'm gonna do this every week. I'm gonna go ahead and read IMDb's, and then I'll try to see if that sits well with me. So this is IMDb's synopsis, or tagline, or whatever you want to call it. An unfaithful wife encounters the zombie of her dead lover. The demonic Cenobites are pursuing him after he escaped their sadomasochistic underworld. Wow.
There's a lot wrong with that already.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
I was actually almost okay with the Texas one, but I don't like that at all. There's there's incorrect information in that,
and just maybe things that would steer people into a different kind of preconceived idea of what's the movie's gonna be about.
Yeah, so
it's just wrong. I mean, in a sense, yeah. You mean this unfaithful wife does kind of meet a zombie? No, zombie's not really the word, but it's an undead, weird spawn hell creature of her former lover, who happens to be her husband's brother.
Yeah. And her former lover.
Right. Which was an interesting development. I like how they revealed that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't know if that's really what the whole movie would be about. Like you said, it is a family drama. But I feel like this centers around almost like the underworld, the demonic, the zombie stuff. Like maybe this is going into my review of it, but I feel like that almost comes like oddly secondary for this movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. So what'd you think of this?
So okay, so going off of how I think it's secondary, I feel like I was thrown a curveball with this movie because I was afraid of Pinhead quite a bit. I think it was because I was always afraid of shopping.
Was it the pins?
No, probably, I guess, a part of it. But I was always afraid of doing Halloween shopping. Always, 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 because I didn't like the masks. I always felt like something was going to reach out, like something like, robotic was going to try to grab me or whatever. I just didn't like horror ever. And there was this huge, like 7-foot tall, like moving version of Pinhead.
Oh, that's awesome.
In this one store, and it fucking freaked me out. So I was going into this movie expecting like a true like Pinhead like extravaganza. I was expecting like just left and right like jump scares or like really weird ghouly things going on. But it was really subdued. It really was just kind of about this family. Pinhead's like in it for all of like 10 minutes, it feels like. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was a different horror movie for me. I was intrigued by it. I don't think I can rate it. I don't think I can give like any kind of like solid like review of it in a sense. I think I can only talk about it and how it affected me.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it.
I think Clive Barker's really, really good at that through his writing and through the other films that he's directed, like Nightbreed and Lord of Illusions. He also like wrote the scripts to like Midnight Meat Train and to Rawhead Rex is a little less known one.
He did Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah, that's based on one of his short stories too. And I'm pretty sure he did the direct like script for it too. But yeah, he always kind of baits you in with one idea, and then when you get to it, he gives you something a little bit different. Like in Nightbreed, you're assuming that like the monsters in the movie are going to be like the villains, and really it turns out to just be like a doctor, played by David Cronenberg actually. Yeah, Nightbreed's one of my favorite films. But yeah, I guess needless to say, I really love this film. Maybe honestly, out of all the films we've done, I've loved it the least. Besides maybe Rosemary's Baby. I mean, we've really hit some ones that were really special to me, like Texas and Dead Alive and Fright Night. But I do genuinely love Clive Barker's work, and I love this film, and I think it's fantastic, and super important as well. I think it's really important for like BDSM culture, and it's really important for like. It gives a really interesting. It stays in that 80s conservative view of sex, where like they ultimately the people being punished in Hellraiser are being punished, for their sexual deviance.
Yep.
But it doesn't do it in like a hateful way, like that's so direct, like Friday the 13th, where it's like you have sex, boom you die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is almost. Like as a series and Pinhead as a character, the Cenobites have almost become like maybe even a haven for people who are looking for something a little bit different or a little bit more
edgier.
Yeah.
In that kind of BDSM way, but
because Frank and Julia are genuinely evil, so you can't feel all that bad for them because they're bad people.
I didn't know that Julia was gonna be such an awful person. Yeah. Aside from the fact that she's a cheater. Yeah. Which is one thing. Her turning into like a murderer.
And not very warm to her husband's daughter either, at all, through any of it.
Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like so it starts off with Frank getting I forget what's the actual name for the box?
They don't say it in the movie, but it's the lament configuration. Most people just call it the puzzle box.
The puzzle box,
honestly.
Yeah. What's in the box? So he gets that. Like that's the first thing you see happen. It's the opening scene. And then like immediately after there's no context, there's no explanation. He just gets torn apart by these hooks. And he just, it's a shit show. It's just a bunch of blood and organs and pieces of flesh.
There's that like turning wood thing with all different body parts on it. There's like a whole back with an ass.
Yeah.
And like part of a face, and there's just like gristle hanging off its spots.
It was a lot, right off the bat.
Fun effects that tread the line between like campy and also like very gory. It's like if you mix like Saw with something like Dead Alive, like the medium ground is like this.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, honestly, because like that's how I felt about it. It's like I was kind of revolted, but also like just kind of thought it was a lot of fun to see that kind of gore and mayhem.
Yeah.
But I mean, after that, then it just kind of goes into like this family drama, like just about like moving into a place that's rather disgusting. This, I guess, young college girl, like, you know, saying that she's like living on her own or whatever, then comes back home later. This new wife.
Yeah, they're like pretty freshly married.
Yeah.
And we're too all assume, I think. Yeah.
Right. And so it's just a lot of drama going on there. And it's funny. It just felt like a weird soap opera. And there's a lot of like that like gauzy kind of lighting where between like Frank and Julia in the like flashback scenes. There's a lot of like, you know, just kind of gauzy cinematography there.
I love when they juxtapose that with Jerry is his name?
Who's
Larry? The husband.
The actual husband,
Yeah.
not the lover guy.
Yeah, when he gets his...
Oh, yeah, that's Larry, yeah.
Larry, when he gets his hand cut, and they're cutting back and forth between him struggling, and then like her like remembering those like great knife play sessions with Frank.
Man. There was a lot going on in this movie. But yeah, and that's just the thing. Like I was not expecting it to be like this.
I'll do anything you want. Anything.
Come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
Wow. There's just, yeah.
We're finally the ASMR podcast that I've wanted.
We did it. Everybody can go home.
Thanks, Clive.
Good Suffering finally brought us there. And yeah, look at that. Good Suffering. We already mentioned this before. I shouldn't act surprised, but I just love it.
This is the namesake film.
Yeah,
this is where I got, you know, God, I always forget the line, but it's
no tears.
Yeah, no tears. They're a waste of good suffering.
Yeah.
It's something along those lines. And I love that.
Yeah.
There, a lot of like, you know, there's actually not a lot of explanation to some of the lines in the movie, but they just work for the overall tone. Like Jesus wept. Like there's no you don't really read into that. That's actually an ad lib. Like I think his last word was supposed to be like fuck or something like that. And like Jesus wept is like an old timey like archaic like Irish and English like way of just saying like, oh God, like God's sake, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's basically what he's saying is like, well, one more time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a heck of an ad lib. That's awesome.
Yeah. Also, that shot of him smoking the cigarette when he's in like when he's in the suit.
Yes.
Not supposed to be in the movie.
I freaking love. I took a picture of it.
Yeah.
I had to take a picture of it because I thought it was such a cool shot.
Yeah. That was actually just him on set smoking in between. Like,
was it? Because it seems so casual. I was like, look, here it is.
Oh my God. Yep. Exactly that. Yeah.
God, I love that.
And Clive just took out a camera and said, "Let's shoot this."
Yeah, because there's so many in the last few weeks I've seen like photos of what is it, the movie about Jesus and Mary Magdalene with Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara. Have you?
No.
So like there's like this awesome picture of like, you know, just Rooney like on like the crucifix, just smoking a cigarette like in between scenes.
Oh my God.
And she's like, you know, in costume and everything.
Or like, have you seen those pictures from like behind the scenes of like Marie Antoinette, like the Sophia Coppola?
Yeah.
And everybody's like smoking cigarettes and on their cell phone, but they're in like the period correct.
Exactly.
Garb. Yeah,
I love stuff
feels
like
almost
that.
like that.
So when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's such. I mean, you know, like it's the only thing I took a picture of, like in the movie. I had to do it. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But so why is Pinhead the guy on the cover? Can we get into that? Is that are we leaping into things?
I can tell you exactly why.
Okay.
Because he was the only Cinnabite. Cinnabite brought to you by Taco Bell.
Gorgonites brought to you by Small Soldiers.
Joe Dante movie. He's the only one whose makeup wasn't so heavy that he couldn't speak. Everybody else had like a bit of trouble speaking. Even the girl with the hooks in her mouth. Like,
right.
You move that too long, they'll just fall off. So he just became the iconic one because he is like the mouthpiece of the whole group.
But
and like
so
through the sequels,
that's purely it then?
Basically, yeah. And through the sequels, you know, he becomes more and more prominent because people wanted to see him, you know, and they wanted to hear his like cryptic, evil speak.
Wow.
You know, we'll tear your soul apart and things like that.
I remember you told me before because we knew, spoiler alert, we knew we were going to do this movie.
Yeah, I've wanted this since the beginning. I said the 5th one is going to be Hellraiser.
Yeah.
We're not going to start with it, but once we get to like 5 episodes.
Yeah, we'll do it, especially because that's the name of our show. But going into, like, just speaking briefly before, you told me how, like, he's not really the bad guy, so to
No,
say.
no,
and he's
at
not.
all.
He's not
He's,
like
he's never really the bad guy in like any of them. At least the ones I've seen. I've missed a few like the middle ones, just because like no, if nobody says anything good about a film, I'm not gonna get all that invested.
even
And,
though
like,
you watch Godfather Part 3, but okay.
well, but these like they just like he goes to space and like it gets really like horror sequel-y,
Yeah. So that's interesting though. I
in the new
I
one
was
all he
not
does is
expecting. Sit.
Yeah, he's just sitting on a throne contemplating in the new one.
I'll take it. That's cool. He is a cool character. He's like kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
I just can't believe the one thing that really brought attention to him is the fact that he can speak. That his makeup allows him to
Doug
speak.
Bradley didn't even want this role because this was his first on-screen appearance, and he said like, I'm trying to build a career. I don't want to be under all this makeup. He was trying to be one of the moving guys, I think.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why would you rather be the...
So because they both have like
They have
very small
lines.
amount of screen time.
Yeah.
And they
Actual
like
face
he
time.
wanted his face there. He wanted to
Right.
have screen caps and stuff that he could give to
Yeah, for the real.
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, I think he made...
He made a career out of it.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, between this and like the cons he goes to and stuff. Yeah, and he does like audiobooks and stuff. People love him for his voice, and they,
that,
he was just in a
It's a pity though, because he could have gone to
something else.
cons for people that play movers in movies.
right, of
Like
course.
movie movers.
MoveCon. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be going to
MoveCon.
there next week.
You got tickets?
Yeah.
They were sold out when I went to get them.
Man.
All right. Yeah. So that's interesting. I did not. I had no idea why he was like such an iconic character. Why there was a 7-foot freaking moving robot thing scaring the shit out of me as a kid.
Did it have the box?
I don't know. I was getting out of there. Jeez.
Oh man, but how about that score? That Christopher Young score. That's just gorgeous and like so cinematic. And like so against what was like happening at the time with that John Carpenter synthy,
Really bone chilling kind of stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that was going on there that almost strips things down.
Yeah.
They like this.
It was very pretty.
Yeah, it's great, and like it's not like it's almost like the Candyman score, which you haven't seen Candyman.
Nope.
It's almost like it's just so big, and it makes the movie feel bigger than it actually is. And I think like doing that with your scores, going full orchestra, going classical with it, really helps rather than just like chordy, synth.
Was this
stuff.
a like smaller kind of budget?
Less
thing?
than $1 million.
Because it was pretty contained.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is also like a very
like
contained.
Just in the house for the most part.
There's like a few like off-site sets like the hospital, which is easy, and then like
or the
also
pet
like that
shop.
hall. Yeah, the pet shop, the big hallway running scene with the monster.
Yeah,
kind of
right.
penis almost looking monster. Yeah, there's a couple of those, but you could just tell like they didn't have a hell of a lot of money for this, and like.
I don't know. Can you tell? Because a
lot of the guys in the movie, even Doug Bradley, like him and Clive go way back. Like they both started in theater together, and Clive would write theater, and Doug would play in his plays,
Sweet.
along with some other people that are in the films and
Do
stuff.
you take pride in having your same name as such a badass dude like that?
When I met him, he asked me how to spell my name, and he totally got me. I was like, "Oh, Doug," and he looked at me. He's like, "I know."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool guy. Man, you've met some freaking awesome people.
Yeah.
I don't know
He
if
was
we-
so great, and he was so friendly.
Yeah.
And I got to actually like sit down next to him and like while he was signing and take a picture with him and stuff. It was really cool. He was a lot warmer than some of the other people that I met at the few cons that I've actually gone to.
Wow.
Yeah, I have nothing but nice things to say about Doug Bradley.
That's sick. Yeah, that's a good guy. I hope is he going to be there at MoveCon?
Yeah, he'll be there at MoveCon.
All right, be there at
Nobody's
MoveCon.
gonna sign for him though. He's like, "You're not a fucking mover. You're a fucking pinhead."
Yeah.
Lame.
I do want to talk about, I guess the fact that it is, Reagan kind of stuff, like you said, like conservative in a sense.
It's got a kind of negative view to like sexual exploration.
A lot of Jesus statues before they move in or as they're moving in or even while they're in the building and one like leaps out.
It's so great though in like the decrepit house. It just looks so good.
Yeah. I don't know because like it seems like you're saying that like it has that negative look on it. But at the same time, like it has been kind of what's the word? Formative for people in BDSM like culture, or however you want to put it.
Showed a lot of people, like, I mean, you see a lot of the BDSM stuff in like the Cenobites, you know, in their dress and like,
and a
kinda
lot
what
of their
they do.
words. Like, well, what do they say? Because they talk about how, like, you know,
Mixing pleasure and pain.
it's
and
like
things
the
like that.
highest.
The whole
of, like,
point that people open the box is to like
experience it. They could either get heaven or hell,
and you're gonna experience, you know,
both.
Both, you know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't really get that it was damning, like being a sinful person at all. I mean,
guess this just
aside
kind
from
of
the fact,
come up in like the discourse about the film. It's not like, you know, when I've you know when you read about this movie, it's a heavy thing. Is like, you know, it can be construed as kind of a conservative view, as like they are being punished for what they're doing, but it's also like it kind of treads like a middle line.
maybe
That it makes it kind of interesting.
I guess
All of Clive Barker's work is very heavily like sexual. Yeah, it's really, really.
because what was I going to say? Like, despite the fact, like, okay, you know, they're both kind of awful people, murderers, trying to escape from like hell and all that. And they are, you know, they do get tortured. They get end up getting murdered. Well, Frank murders Julia, and then Frank ends up getting, you know, fucking ripped apart. Despite all of that, they're getting like their thrill as it's all happening.
Right.
And I guess at the end game, it's like, oh, you kind of deviate from the path, you sin or whatever.
Right.
It's gonna come to you. You're gonna get what you deserve.
Right.
Maybe this is me like being like post Catholic school kid and all that, and like kind of over it. I didn't think that's all that bad. Like, it doesn't seem like it's such a like. I don't know. Like, okay, you had your fun and then you die. That's how it's gonna go in reality, in life. Anyway,
Fair.
maybe I'm being too much of a nihilist now.
Maybe I'm too vanilla.
Maybe I'm into BDSM now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe this woke up something inside me.
But you know, like this really does mix like sex and religion and horror really well and really uniquely. Like there's that shot right in the opening where you see that little statue of like the guy and the girl fucking. It's a little crude.
I thought it was a
white
pipe.
statue.
Is it?
No, I think it's just like a little
Oh, okay.
knick-knack thing. Right next to the roach
Right.
crawling by it. I think it's just like it does these little things like that where it'll blend, you know, everything together and it almost makes it, you can't really distinguish like what they're trying to say. It's really ultimately about the mood that they're setting, and it's like proto like Lars von Trier. It's like you know, I'm not trying to say anything. It's like what do you see? What do you
get out of it?
Yes, exactly.
And that's why I'm saying, like, look, I mean, freaking Larry was a pretty vanilla and bland husband,
I thought
man.
through the whole movie, you know, like I'm so bad at remembering names, especially just like plain white guy names.
Yeah.
Like I kept thinking he was Jerry, and like
Like
I was
Rick and
like,
Morty.
oh my god, he's such a Jerry. He is such a Rick and Morty Jerry.
Yeah.
And it's not his name, but that you know, it's still there. He is very like, you know, he's watching the boxing
the
match.
freaking
And he's going in.
boxing
He's like, yeah, get him. And he's like,
Yeah. Or like the party where like she's not feeling well and she wants to go upstairs, go to bed or whatever, and he's insisting like everyone, like, dude, that's your fucking wife, man. Go tend to her, like, just like.
no wonder she wants to fuck your brother.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the same thing with Fright Night. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh, dude, your fucking man is like blowing you off because he thinks the neighbor's a fucking vampire. Go fuck that vampire then.
Oh my god, yeah. Christ.
This is definitely an explicit episode.
Yeah.
Good thing
Yeah,
we have
this
the E on there.
Yeah, I knew this was coming eventually.
Yeah.
Once I start getting into the sex movies, you know, that's where it comes. You know, I this is kind of out of the blue, but this movie almost kind of feels like Beetlejuice.
Oh,
It's kind of
wow.
I
don't know.
I sit with
Where?
it, and I'm
I want to hear it. I'm intrigued. Yeah.
visually. I mean, just like on a base level, like there's a little bit of like some stop motion in
Yep.
there. It's all kind of about a house. You know, it subverts that like
Daughters
who's
and-
the you know, who's the villain here. Like it subverts like the
True.
roles
Yeah.
of like, you know, like the monsters here versus like the ghosts in Beetlejuice.
That's right.
The main character has like minimal screen time. Like Beetlejuice only has like 14 minutes or something like that. And
But man, does he?
yeah, and he
work
owns
it.
those, and just
Yeah.
like Pinhead.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the main girl looks like Winona Ryder.
A little bit, yeah.
Like
I was
like a
getting
whole
that
lot
too.
of bit.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm just being, you know, modest. No, she really did a lot. Yeah, it's a good point. Beetlejuice is one of my
and
favorite
she
movies.
winds up going to the aid of Pinhead. Pinhead winds up helping her out like Beetlejuice does to her.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Except Pinhead doesn't try to marry her.
Yeah, there's not all that. Wow, yeah, okay, there are a lot of parallels now that I think about it. So the house moving in, all that stuff, the daughter not really being into it. And what came out first? Do you know? This was
They might have came out the
87.
same year.
Oh, that's
Wow.
interesting.
Wow, yeah.
You know what? I'm going to get on that right
Because
now.
I know Beetlejuice is late 80s.
Yeah. I'm going to get on that. I'm going to see. This is what's good about the 88 Beetlejuice.
88, wow. What a
Wow.
fucking ripoff.
Jeez, man.
Piece of shit. Tim Burton is canceled.
Yeah, Michael Keaton too.
Yeah, fuck him. Winona Ryder.
No.
You know, the only
I
person
still
who's
want-
actually canceled in that movie is the dad.
Alec Baldwin?
No,
No,
the
dad,
one
dad.
who's
Wait, he's also the principal in Ferris Bueller. You're saying he's
he was touchy.
whoa.
Kid touchy, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're ruining a lot of movies for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna spend the rest of this podcast just I don't know, recovering from that knowledge. I didn't know that. That's awful. Not, you know what? That's for we'll talk about that I guess after the show.
Right.
This isn't whatever his name is podcast. This is Good Suffering, and gosh dang it, we're gonna talk about Hellraiser.
Hell yeah. Clive Barker, who identifies as a writer first and foremost, and I would have to agree, like he's only directed 3 or 4 films, and like his like literature work is like he's got a lot.
Mhm.
Short stories and scripts and novels and stuff, and even stuff outside of horror. Like there's a great book called Weave World he wrote, which is like kind of dark fantasy. Fantastic novel rather. But you know, him and he comes up from the theater world first and foremost, like Doug Bradley, and that almost reminds me of like Stuart Gordon and Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator.
Mhm.
And I see a lot of parallels with there, where it's just like this like spirit of like I guess late 80s horror, which is just like, you know what, get some money, get some friends, and make your dream.
Yeah.
And I look at Clive Barker and Stuart Gordon with a lot of admiration, and I guess that's where that parallel comes from too. But I just think Hellraiser is just like, we look at it as this huge movie because it spawned like tons of sequels and, Pinheads on like, when you see Freddy and Jason and Leatherface, you're probably going to see Pinhead on whatever item they're on too.
Yep.
T-shirts and toys and, everything.
Yeah. And Fear of God did the streetwear brand line.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Lorenzo, he had like a whole Hellraiser collection come out too. Cool
nice.
stuff. Yeah, it was cool. Like, but it's one design printed on like everything. It's the same design on everything. Yeah, but it was still cool.
Yeah, but like you don't think of these movies as small. You know what I mean? You don't think of them as like somebody who's hungry. Actually, like Clive Barker, like this is his first directed movie. He went to the library to try and check out books on directing.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
and he there's like an interview where he's like, "Oh yeah, I was freaked out because they were both checked out, and I didn't
Oh
even have a
my
book going into it."
God.
Yeah,
That's so endearing.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
so,
that's lovely.
it's amazing when something that's made by somebody with so little experience and so much hunger can like blow up into something like this 30 years later.
And it is a really
31, I think, at this point now.
very,
right?
very well done movie though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like the movement of like Frank when he's like just first gotten blood from I almost called him Jerry, from Larry. He's doing like that weird like waddle thing on his hands.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's such a creepy movement. The lighting in the I guess you would call it the attic is amazing. Like when Julia's bringing home men to murder. There's like one particular dude that like looks around and there's like a pan around from like the right to the left of the
And
attic.
The one that sees
And
him.
then he sees him and he starts freaking out, and it was just
That's like the last guy who's killed.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is because
The one that Kirsty sees.
exactly. But yeah, no, it's really, really well done. And you can definitely tell that he's a writer, like absolutely well written. Like I said, it's just a lot of like story like packed into it. That like you kind of not forget that it's a horror movie at times, but it's just that it's part of it. Like it's this whole drama and the horror movie aspect. It's not like you're watching two different things. It's just married into it and it's seamless.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of writer-directors will try and get as much time as they can to like on the screen to like explain everything.
Mhm.
But he really is
very
able to
little.
condense it to like a solid 90-minute movie that you can watch, get in and out, and he says so much in there, and there's like no fluff.
There's nothing. There's no context. Like
Yeah,
he gets Frank gets the box. He gets torn apart. That's it. That's all you see for a while.
That's your opening. That's and that's just it's just set up.
Yeah, and then Julia finds like the pictures, and she's looking at them, and like to me, I was like, oh look, this is what she's wishing she was getting from Larry.
Mm-hmm.
No, it turns out that he actually had that already
Yeah.
with Frank before.
And now she just can't adapt to like that domestic life.
Yeah.
You know? She's seen the other side.
She knows what she wants now,
Mhm.
and she's not going to be getting from
knife
Larry.
play.
Yeah, and sticking like fingers in your mouth, even though the fucking dude doesn't have any flesh on him. Did you remember? You remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
That was gross.
Oh yeah.
It was a callback to something that they actually did, which I thought was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just gross.
They're
as
a
shit.
nice, sweet relationship when you take everything out of it. It's just two people who just want to fuck the way they want to fuck.
Yeah, it really is. It's Bonnie and Clyde style.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's what it was. I was thinking. I forgot to look at my notes over here, but this whole movie unraveled. Not the whole thing, but like the plot of Frank and Julia becoming like this Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing is literally just because she got some good dick. That's all it is.
Yeah.
This whole movie spirals out of that. Out of
So many people had to die just for her to get good dick again. And she doesn't even get that good dick.
And she doesn't get it. She gets killed
Yeah.
by the guy attached to that.
Before she can even get the dick again.
Yeah.
I failed to mention that this film is actually based on a Clive Barker novella. It's like 180 something pages. It's called The Hellbound Heart.
Oh, shit.
So this is his true like original idea, and he was playing like with the idea of like Pinhead and all these ideas in like plays that he was writing, even like leading back to like the early 80s and stuff.
Fuck, I gotta check this guy's stuff out.
And he wrote. He actually even just like a couple years ago came out with more like Pinhead related stuff, like Hellraiser universe stuff, and he hasn't really had a hand in like the sequels of the films. And that's why I think they've strayed so far from the vision. That's also part of the reason why I don't like to watch like the more recent ones. I think that it's just kind of the heart is taken out of it.
But does it go like the route with, for instance, like how you said Texas Chainsaw 2 is a little bit more like just goofier, like funnier, or like the way Nightmare gets funny?
It still maintains that evilness to it, I guess, but it just doesn't. It lacks the cohesive vision of like Clive Barker. So like the sex is like a tool in this film, but like for example, like in the most recent one, I think it's called Hellraiser Judgment, the one that came out like a few months ago. That like it's just got like naked girls like praying at an altar, and they have no eyes and shit like that. It's just like
just for
tit
props.
shots for tit shots and things like that. It doesn't really work towards the story at all. It's hard to rebound when like your film series has already went to space.
Yeah. And this is very different in that sense. Not those sequels, but this, the first movie, very different to Texas, and how like that was, like we said, like very sexless.
Yeah.
Like, very much so. And while there's only one like literal sex scene, like that moving when Larry actually gets like the blood drawn from his hand.
Yeah. The flashback of the sex.
Right. That's another thing. It's just a flashback. It's very much filled with just like that, like lust, like just it's in the air. Like what's her name? Is it Kirsty?
Kirsty,
yeah,
something like that.
Now she's having that like fling like happen, like all that young love and all that good stuff happening.
They're kissing on like under that tunnel or wherever they are.
Yeah, it's just abundant with that, all of that, and yet it's not like over the top the way a lot of horror movies are nowadays. And that's something that I'm realizing, I guess, as the show goes on, like this show, the podcast, is that the way things were, because what's the most recent movie that we've done? This might be it.
The most modern?
Yeah, like chronologically.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way these movies have been done so far, it's not gratuitous. None of these movies have been like over the top in the sense that it's like a popcorn flick, just like jump scares or anything.
Right.
So and that's what I think horror is. And that's why maybe I'm so surprised by this, or I was so surprised by Texas, or even Fright Night, to be honest. Like, it's just not what I thought horror was.
Right.
I think of horror as just strictly jump scare, hiding behind my eyes, no story. It's like an action movie, but just to scare you.
Yeah. absolutely. And thank you for saying that, because I feel like a lot of people do. I have that issue with Lindsay too, who's like, she's like, I'm fine with horror, but jump scares I can't do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just want people to see that it is, as valid a genre and as diverse a genre as any other thing, as sci-fi or drama or comedy.
Yeah.
It's got, there's so much going on, and I think this proves it. I think all the films that we've done has proved that so far. That,
yeah. Like, I mean, I know, like on our intro episode, I talked about like how I was, just scared of to see where this is going. And while these movies are quote unquote like scary, like in a horror movie kind of sense, there hasn't been one single like jump scare so far. Yeah. And it's just all about atmosphere. It's all about story, and it's all about these characters. So I'm not like having to watch these movies behind my eyes. There are parts where I have to like, I'm shocked by what I see. Like I couldn't believe just like the movie opened up with like the tearing of the flesh or all that, or even Fright Night with just all this freaking like gory, bloody mayhem just happening, all the chaos of those scenes. I'm kind of like I have like a little pushback. I'm like, oh shit, what am I watching? But I'm not like fucking scared to actually watch the movie. Like I'm watching.
You're
the
not
movie.
hiding behind.
Yeah, I want to see what's happening.
Right.
It's really engaging. I think that's the best way to put it. Like these movies are engaging. Yeah. And I guess a note to anyone that's like been in my position with your ideas of what horror movies are, it's a legitimate art form if it's done right.
Right.
Like how you said, I don't know. Did we do that on air when you started naming all those great 80s movies that? I don't think we did that on air. You were like, oh, right, what about Ghostbusters or Back to the Future? Like, you don't hate 80s movies. You just hate bad 80s movies, is what you said to me.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing with, like, horror. It's like, I don't hate horror, really. I'm hating all, like, the easily, bankable jump scare kind of movies.
Right.
And I've been talking way too much.
No. Actually, I think this might be a great place to leave it.
Okay.
But I guess it's time to reveal the next film, which I don't even know yet. I've asked you like 3 times today. You haven't told me, so let her rip.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't told you.
Oh, I bet you haven't figured it out.
Okay, so it was down to 2 movies. And
here we go.
Like right now on this hot tape, on this rolling tape that we have, I'm gonna just pick one, and I'm not stalling by talking this much, but I already brought it up to you. I think you know. Very recent, I guess, in comparison. Starring, what's her name? Amanda Seyfried. And
Mean Girls. I love Mean Girls.
And Megan Fox.
Oh my God! Which
Mamma Mia?
Which Transformers?
This is Jennifer's Body.
Oh man, that's actually really cool. I'm excited to do a modern film. I feel like you've jumped the gun on me. I was getting ready to pick something a little more modern, and you got to it first.
Yeah, I wanted to
which
do it.
Which means that I'm gonna go really weird with the week after, but.
Yeah, as you should.
But yeah, so expect Jennifer's Body for our next episode. And I want to thank you guys again for listening and putting up with us for, another 40 minutes or however long this winds up being. And you can find us on all of our social media. We're on Twitter at good_suffering. We are on Instagram at Good Suffering Podcast. And we are on Facebook at facebook.com/GoodSufferingPod/. And don't forget to give us a review and to subscribe.
Yep. Comment.
Yeah. Just engage with us. We love hearing, from the people listening.
It doesn't only fuel our egos. It just lets us know that you like what you're hearing. And, or if you don't, just say it. Like literally just comment. Let us know your thoughts. We just want to know. We want to hear feedback from you guys. We want to engage with you guys. We love the fact that you guys are tuning in. So from the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will see you next time on Good Suffering.